Well, hello again. This is the Midnight Skeptic. I am going ahead with my duties to all of my thousands of listeners out there, despite everybody that I know, anyway, almost everybody that I know, being a bit depressed, despondent, and what have you. About the results of Tuesday's election. And I'll talk a little bit about it, but without any tears, without any name calling or no more name calling than I already do. So without further ado, here is my play-in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. The station manager at KPCA LP 103.3 FM reminded me that I should say that my opinions, the Midnight Skeptic's opinions, are not necessarily the same as Petaluma Community Access, which is the parent company of KPCA LP. About 5 or 6 years ago, when I made this intro music plus my voicing of what it's all about, I included that. And I don't know, maybe he just didn't hear it on Sunday night. Maybe he's actually sleeping, as he should be. Nice guy, though. Rob Tomaszewski. That's my first shout out. Okay, well, the Orange Sociopathic bloat bag will become president number 47 in our nation's history on January 20th of next year. And President Biden called him and assured him that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. And the Orange Sociopathic bloat bag is the very reason that Biden has to even say that, because of what happened on January 7th of 2021. It was not so much of a peaceful transfer of power after the Orange Sociopathic bloat bag riled up a whole bunch of his followers that he had encouraged to come to the Capitol. His infamous saying on his emails or texting, "It will be wild." Well, it certainly was, and unfortunately, a lot of good, patriotic Capitol policemen were injured, a lot of them, a couple of deaths. And anyway, I am not as unoptimistic as I started out being when it became apparent to me that the Orange Sociopathic bloat bag was going to win the election. I might go into a little bit on what the pundits are saying about why Kamala Harris and Tim Walz lost the election. But this program of the Midnight Skeptic that I'm recording right now is going to be a little different. I don't have a whole couple of pages full of notes about various happenings in the politicosphere, and so I'm going to be largely talking off the top of my head. It is still the goal of the Midnight Skeptic, Mr. Woke, to help in my own small way via this broadcast to rid this nation of all GOP, Republicans, conservatives, MAGA heads, Christian fundamentalists, Christian nationalists, and all people of their ilk. And I just refuse to believe that the number of people in those groups that I just mentioned, when you add them all up together, I don't believe that they are more than, say, 40% of the American populace. But it had to be more than just those people that voted for him. So, okay, right now, this is Friday, Friday, November 8th of 2024. And it's about 3:30 right now. And this will be broadcast this coming Sunday on the 10th of November at the usual time, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And okay, I'm going to delay the shout-outs for a little bit, and I'm going to try to speed up the shout-outs to kind of, I don't know, save time. Okay, I am worried about a number of things because of the coming Orange Sociopathic bloat bag administration. It's not just him, but all of the hard right-wing crazies that he's going to surround him with that will help in making government policy. I fear for the environment. I mean, the environment wasn't doing good anyway, but the oil and gas companies, the auto manufacturers, companies that are supporting the use of internal combustion engines, they're spewing the CO2, and it's not going to be curtailed anytime soon. So no matter what they say about carbon capture technology, that's a scam used by used by oil and gas companies to try to ensure or scam the public that they're doing everything they can to help with the environment. Well, they're not. They're just liars. Okay. Women's rights. I'm worried about that too. He's already helped to put into the Supreme Court of the United States a number of lying justices. They lied to the face of the Senate members who were supposed to vet them and find out whether they were fit to serve on the bench of the Supreme Court. And they lied. They said that Roe v. Wade was settled law, or whatever the legalistic terms they used for it, but they were lying. Okay. I'm afraid for LGBTQ rights, especially the rights of the um, transgender community. Um, the gay thing, I just can't see even the most hardcore Republicans voting to um, do away with marriage equality in this country. Oh boy, I don't have my notes with me, so Obergefell, the Obergefell decision. I just can't see. Uh, Soft core Republicans, I guess, voting to get rid of that. That would just be a bridge too far, so to speak. But um, the transgender community is very vulnerable. A lot of states are denying transgender uh, youth uh, gender care. And the word care has been, of course, interpreted by right wingers to mean uh, gender affirming surgery. Well, it's not done. I assure you, in this country, I am assuring all of my thousands and thousands of listeners that gender affirming surgery is not done in this country on kids that are under 18. There may have been some exceptions, and it may have been done by a rogue medical surgeon. I can't say that it's never been done, but as a policy, all hospitals and health plans have a policy of not doing it until a person turns 18 and becomes an official adult. Okay? And, okay, economic disparity. There's no argument to the fact, in fact, Republicans don't mention it, but Bernie Sanders does, and all other Democratic socialists, that the top 1% of people in this country hoard, I don't know, I'm pulling figures out of my ASS right now, but the top 1% control or have in excess of 90% of the wealth in this country. A few of the millionaires and billionaires have signed a pledge to give the majority of their wealth to various causes that are rather left wing, and I applaud those people. And the rest of them are just greedy creeps. Jeff Bezos, I'm talking to you, and the rest of the population, especially the lower 10%, are just suffering. And the Republicans would rather die than just give things like free lunches to kids, like an increase in Social Security benefits. If anything, they want to do away with Social Security. Okay. Another thing I'm worried about is workers' rights. Not enough union workers and union personnel came out of the woodwork to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I'm a proud union member myself. Although retired, I am getting pension checks from both the Teamsters and the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, which represented the Safeway workers, of which I retired from, a decade back. And another thing I worry about is our foreign policy. The orange sociopathic bloat bag is essentially uh, Vladimir Putin's lapdog. And we might quit helping the Ukraine after Russia invaded the Ukraine. And Zelensky, I don't want to have to see him crawl to the orange sociopathic bloat bag. I hope that the rest of the NATO nations just step up and help Ukraine if that should happen. Okay? So those are the things that I'm worried about. Okay, shout outs as quick as I can do them. Okay, the Mickey Huff, Nolan Higdon, and Andy Lee Roth. Those are the three guys that keep Project Censored alive. And Phillips, Professor Phillips of Sonoma State University, was one of the original founders of Project Censored. I met him, and we even had a couple of beers together while I was at Sonoma State University working on my master's in history. My master's thesis was The History of the American Teenager, a lesson plan. It kind of ran away with me. It got to be real thick. My hope was that any professor of history could come along, pick this up, and teach the course in the history of the American teenager and the 20th century American teenager. Well, there have been some developments since my thesis was presented. Well, technology, for one thing. Even at the very end of the 20th century, we didn't worry so much in this country or around the world about the dastardly influence of smartphones and the internet and TikTok and all of those things. That's something that's completely new to teenagers and youth in general. I don't know what we're going to do about it. I don't think there's anything to do about it. It's here. We just have to learn to live with it and regulate it as best we can to lessen the harm that being online constantly is doing to our teenagers. Okay. That was Project Censored. Oh, please, watchers and listeners to this broadcast, even the term broadcast is kind of an anachronistic term. But anyway, people who are listening to this or watching this, go to Project Censored, sign up for their newsletter, and maybe even buy this year's books. The State of the Free Press 2024. The 2025 edition is at the printer right now. Okay. Projectcensored.org. Okay. Let's see. Tom Gaffey, the Godfather of the Phoenix Theater, hangout place for alternative teens. And he helps them occasionally with their familial and relationship problems. He's probably as good at helping them as any child psychologist ever does. John Crowley, who's the owner of Aquas Cafe here in Petaluma, in the warehouse district, First and H Streets. It's not called the warehouse district. There's another word for it, but there's a lot of warehouses down that way. Um, Ralph Scott, who is the owner of Squeaky Cheese Productions, LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. It's an audio book recording service, and he has a whole bunch of voice thespians at his disposal. Rabbi Ted Fellman, who's retired now, but my wife, who was Jewish, passed away in 2013, and I used to go down to B'nai Israel for his nighttime classes and dinners at B'nai Israel, celebrating various Jewish holidays, and I picked up a lot of the culture, the Jewish culture, by, going down there and talking with him and learning about various things. I am not a, oh God, the word I'm looking for, Zionist. I'm not a Zionist, although I am very pro-Israel to a point. I am very, very sympathetic to the Palestinians over not only in Gaza, but in the southern part of Lebanon, who are feeling the wrath of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, as we speak. Hamas is a purely evil organization, in my opinion, and Hezbollah is a purely evil organization, in my opinion. Both of them are funded and supported by Iran. And I have a couple of Iranian friends, and I am sympathetic to the Iranian people, especially the women of the Shiite religious rulers of Iran. It's not a democratic. We may end up not being democratic here either. So, what should I cast aspersions upon them? But Iran is a theocracy, and there's a sizable portion of Christian fundamentalists and Christian nationalists that would have this country become a theocracy. I guess you can tell out there that I'm not following my notes. Well, I don't have any notes, so nothing to follow. Whoopee. Let's see, who else? Okay. The following people that I'm going to shout out are occasional listeners to my rantings. And I've found out through various sources that they do now and then listen to my rantings. Okay. Dave and Rosie Takach, Sacramento. Kevin and Lori and Katati. Rich and Kathy Berger over in Sebastopol. Tim Conrad here in Petaluma. Art Kuznets here in Petaluma. Met him through B'nai Israel. Down in Tiburon, Dennis and Megan. Over in Pacifica, Stan and Kathy. In San Francisco, Yvonne and Tim. Oh, man. Yvonne and Rick. Okay. Down in Southern California, Aunt Jackie and Samantha. Aunt Jackie was my late wife's best friend. Hope you're doing okay, Aunt Jackie. Her daughter Samantha and Samantha's little boy David. And Samantha's sister, who is now residing over in Austin, Texas, which is a little bit of blue in a sea of redness. And I think Texas missed out on a chance to get rid of. It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway. Okay, up to Arkansas, Shannon Reed. Over to Arizona, my brother Brandon and his wife Mina, and their daughter Andrea, who's my niece, and her 3 kids. They're living actually in the Santan Valley area, which is quite hot right now. And forest fires are a problem right now over there. Not as bad as the forest fires that are going on down in Ventura County in California. Okay, Florida, Nelson and Alice. Nelson is a retired officer in the United States Public Health Service. Oh boy, that's another thing. Public health. The Orange Sociopathic bloat bag is threatening to appoint Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., into a position of authority over the nation's health, women's health, the CDC, and he is a anti-vaxxer, and he has other beliefs that are just stupid and nutty. Fits right into the Orange Sociopathic bloat bags administration. Okay, over on the east coast of Florida, Amelia Beamer, editor extraordinaire and muse to a lot of budding writers, of which I am one. Okay, up to the Raleigh-Durham area, Dr. David Rubin. He and I roomed together back in the late 90s, and he's probably the world's finest pulmonary physician. He retired from that and went to work for GlaxoSmithKline, the drug maker, whose headquarters are in the Raleigh-Durham area. And he set up clinical trials for their new products to see if the new drugs worked, or whether their side effects were worse than the cure. Okay. And then he retired from them and is pursuing right now his art career. And he is showing his stuff at the Lost Artists Collective in Chicago. And over to Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger. And way back over here to the West Coast and up Highway 108 to Sonora, California, Robert Finnegan, Bob Fisher and Sandy, and their 2 kids, Martha and Brad, and Darrell Larson, Judy May, Kathy Francis, and Lynn Quayle. And further on up Highway 108 to Twain Hart is John Gleason and his partner up there, I forget her name, and his 2 daughters, and I don't know where they're living or working now, Tiffany and Jennifer. Jennifer is with Wells Fargo Bank, and Tiffany is a professor of African Studies. She did some studying and work over in the country of Benin, Benin, and she speaks an African language. Oh boy, I can't remember the name of it, but she speaks it. And down in Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, I hope that she and the Orange Sociopathic bloat bag can get along and do something about the immigrants coming across the border. And I'm not an anti-immigrant at all. We need them. And they're just trying to seek a better life for themselves and their families. And maybe if both countries, Mexico and the U.S., can get together and deal with the poverty, not necessarily in Mexico, although there is a lot, but in the countries of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, maybe we can tackle some of the immigration problem that Republicans has made a big issue out of. Okay. Need to take a sip. That was apple cider, heated apple cider. Okay. As he declared victory, President-elect, God, I have to say the name, Donald J. Trump, said that his mission now was nothing less than to, quote unquote, save our country. Our country doesn't need saving except from a warming environment, greedy corporations, oil drilling and fracking. That's what we need to save our country. And not just to save our country, but to make the citizens, especially women, happy with their lot in life. And their lot in life shouldn't be determined by politicians. Okay, I'm reading an article, and I'm paraphrasing as I go, from the New York Times. Orange Sociopathic bloat bag said save our country is his goal. His version of doing that involves an expansive agenda that would reshape government. Oh, man. Our government is fine as it is constituted. Foreign policy, national security, economics, and domestic affairs as dramatically as any president in modern times. Thanks for the warning. Over the course of the campaign, Mr. Trump outlined a set of policies for his second term that would be a far more sweeping than that enacted in his first term. Without establishment Republicans and military veterans surrounding him to resist his more drastic ideas, Mr. Trump may find it easier, to move ahead, particularly if his party completes its sweep by winning the House. As I'm speaking, there's about 7 House seats, most of them in California here, that are undecided. But it's possible that the Democrats can eke out a narrow control of the House of Representatives. Oh, I'm hoping. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm holding crossed fingers up to my camera. Okay. Many of his policy prescriptions remain vague. In other words, he doesn't know, really. Or change in detail depending on his mood or the day. But if he follows through on his campaign trail talk, he would restructure the government to make it more partisan, of course, further cut taxes on the rich and corporations, while imposing steep, punishing tariffs on foreign goods. The orange sociopathic bloat bag does not understand how tariffs work. Expand energy production in the United States. In other words, more drilling. Pull the United States back from overseas alliances. Here, Putin, do what you want. Reverse long-standing health rules. Prosecute his adversaries. Jail all them Democrats. And round up, theoretically, millions of people living in the country illegal. Do you realize how much, even if he could get away with it, how much that would cost in the salaries of law enforcement personnel to accomplish that, rounding up millions and millions of illegal aliens? I don't know exactly the number of illegal aliens or undocumented immigrants is a better term to use. I don't know exactly how many. I've heard the word 10 million to 11 million of them. And they do a lot of work that people here in America don't want to do. We need them to a certain extent. They are not, as Republicans try to scare us by saying, they're taking all our jobs. Well, they aren't. They're taking the jobs that nobody wants to do. Okay, this is what he said in his victory speech. We're going to do the best job. We're going to turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast. And we're going to turn it around. You know, he never says what the it is. He's vague, which is another way of saying that he doesn't really know what he's talking about. I'm going to skip ahead here. Okay, I didn't make very many notes, but here's one note I did make. L.A. County, Los Angeles County, is suing PepsiCo, the company, and Coke, or Coca-Cola, over plastic pollution and false advertising. Well, what's the false advertising? They're trying to convince the American public that has some concern for the environment that their plastic bottles are completely recyclable. And to an extent, they are. But those aren't the only kind of bottles that they make. As I've said before, ad nauseum, on the bottom of bottles and other plastic containers, there's the chasing arrows symbol that is supposed to reassure the public that plastic pollution is not a problem. The number that's inside the chasing arrows, 1 through 6, gives consumers a hint as to whether the thing can be recycled or not. 1 and 2, in theory, can be. 3, 4, 5, 6 cannot be recycled in the conventional way. They're plastic producers and oil and gas drillers are trying to convince the consumers in this country that advanced recycling is a solution to everything. Well, it's not. It's a scam. And it is just really another word for incinerating. And the gases that are a byproduct of advanced recycling going into the air is bad for us. There's polyethylene gases that eventually settle out of the air, but while they're in the air, they are breathed in. CO2, nitrous oxide is another byproduct of advanced recycling. And they are such liars that they should have a seat at the table in the Orange Sociopathic bloat bags administration. Okay? Wait a minute. The lawsuit says that the companies knew about the limitations of plastics recycling, but promoted it anyway. The lawsuit seeks an injunction against Coca-Cola and PepsiCo for their deceptive business practices. And their sustainability claims. They love to use the word sustainability in their corporate missives. Okay, the LA County is claiming civil penalties and restitution for consumers who were misled. It is about 45 minutes. I'm going to end it here by playing my out music. And it's just, I don't have enough notes, but rest assured that the Midnight Skeptic ultimately is optimistic. There was a 4-year administration of the Orange Sociopathic bloat bag's first stint in office, and I am sad and disappointed that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were not elected this time. But I remain optimistic, and we will see. I will keep this rant going and doing my best to convince as many people as possible that we are not doomed. I will have a bit more to say about religion on the next shows. As I've said before, I am basically an atheist, meaning I don't see any evidence for anything, any sky daddy that knows everything. Oh, I will give a shout out to a pic. Oh, Epicurus. He has a very good quote about religion in general or gods in general that I'm going to quote you next week, and it perfectly sums up my feelings about religion. All right. So with that, I will play my out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. I can't wait for my son and his wife, Megan, to move back in here. They're remodeling the upstairs part to this house, but they have a cat who's actually the sister of my deceased cat. And so I'll have a cat to pet again. Whoopee! And when I did this recording, think logically, think rationally, I should have added think scientifically, which is what I try to do. So I will do this again next week. So until then, take care of yourselves. Be optimistic. Don't be down on the dumps. Things will get better. Bye-bye.